Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We talk about Smackdown from December the 3rd, 2021. Not my favorite episode of Smackdown. Still some good stuff here. Not a lot though, if we're being honest. I like the overall story of the show, but at the same time, it's all filler, you know? And that's been a big issue. Is this was a very Brock heavy show. There was more Brock on this show than ever before, and actually did a good job of showing Brock's personality and him finding a groove as a babyface. It doesn't compromise all the stuff that we've seen him do before. So this is really good. And Brock obviously did a lot of talking himself. Now he's got to do his own talking. So that was a huge draw for the show, was to see how Brock was going to handle being by himself as a babyface. So this is Brock has a voice, man. Brock knows what Brock should be doing, and Brock knows how Brock should talk. And they gave him somebody great to play off of in Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn is phenomenal. I know I talked a lot of shit about, the independent guys and some of the issues I have with them. But Sami Zayn is one of those dudes, kind of like Bryan Danielson, where I see him as more of an exception. It's like an AJ Styles. AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Bryan Danielson. Some of these guys are kind of an exception as far as they adapt and they get really good. Kevin Owens hasn't done a really good job of this, but Sami Zayn has. Sami Zayn has done a really good job of adapting to WWE. And he's very good, dressed like Castro and going out here and doing these bits. So let's talk about that first. So Brock Lesnar comes out there, says he's only on this show for the Universal title. Sami Zayn interrupted almost immediately by saying that this has been a long time coming, the two of them meeting in the middle of the ring, and that they have a lot in common, being two Canadian alpha males. Brock Lesnar says he doesn't know who Sami Zayn is. Sami Zayn says, "I'm a fan of yours," and Brock says, "You're a fan of me?" Then on the Canadian subject, Brock says he hunts things in Saskatchewan. He kills things in Saskatchewan, and he eats things in Saskatchewan. So, what do they really have in common? And asks Sami Zayn again, who is he? Sami Zayn said that he is the elder statesman of SmackDown and the #1 contender to the Universal title, and promised Brock a title shot if he wins. So Brock didn't like the idea of Roman and Sami Zayn at day one, which he thought was encroaching on his space. He said that Sami Zayn should challenge Roman Reigns tonight. Sami Zayn said that, not in Texas. He doesn't like Texas, and said that he ain't ready. Brock then insisted. Sami Zayn proclaimed that Brock was crowding him as Brock got very close to him. Just leaned in on him. Then he said no, he's not going to wrestle Roman tonight. And he touched Brock, which was a mistake. Brock literally twisted his wrist until Sami Zayn agreed to have the match. Then afterwards, he told Sami Zayn he was going to be in his corner tonight to watch his back, to make sure he gets a fair match and all that stuff. Let's pause right here to talk a little bit about this portion of the segment. One thing that I do not like, and it's becoming a pet peeve of mine the more I see it happen, is when a guy has been on the roster for a long time and then somebody who's on a higher level says, "Who are you?" It's like, I know Brock is not a wrestling fan, but Sami Zayn has been in the company for 5 fucking years. You tell me you ain't never seen the guy before, ever. I really don't like that. When Charlotte did it to Tony, I didn't like it. It's too demeaning. It's like, it's different with Tony though, because she's fairly new. If somebody like Aaliyah had walked up to Brock Lesnar, okay, cool. He doesn't know who she is. But somebody like Sami Zayn, who's wrestled on the same card as Brock Lesnar before, you mean Brock Lesnar literally just other people don't exist? That we can't do that. We should have found some other way of doing this whole thing. And Sami Zayn calling himself the elder statesman of SmackDown when Brock Lesnar was on SmackDown in 2002. I just got a chuckle out of that. Like, I know WWE likes to kayfabe everything, But that's some of the most ridiculous kayfabe I've ever seen. You can watch Brock matches from SmackDown in 2002, talking about the elder statesman. But I guess that's just part of Sami Zayn's delusion. But that was the only part I didn't like of this opening segment, is that Brock with the whole "who are you? I don't know who you are" stuff. I think it belittles Sami Zayn to the audience. I don't think you should ever be doing that too much. I think, if anything, he should have put Sami Zayn over a little bit by saying he's seen Sami Zayn, he knows what he can do, but doesn't really care. Like, I like that Brock doesn't give a shit. And that's really what they're trying to get over with the whole Brock doesn't know who this guy is. But I just think that at some point he should know who Sami Zayn is, and I just don't like it. And plus, I think they do it too often. There's too much of that, well, who are you? It's like, guy's been around forever. We're not talking about some NXT call-up who has to introduce himself every time he comes on screen. Sami Zayn's been on this show. I mean, he's literally on this show. Like, I don't know. But I guess Brock doesn't watch TV. Does Brock even have a TV? Does Brock have electricity in his house? Or is everybody wearing bearskin walking around that joint? In any event, Sony Deville is backstage, and Sami Zayn is talking to her, and he's trying to get out of this match. So he says that he's not really ready. He's feeling a little bit pressured. And plus, Adam Pearce isn't there, so he doesn't feel like it's appropriate to have a match with Adam Pearce is not there. So Brock shows up behind him and again pressures him into agreeing to have the match tonight. To which Brock says, I want the match at day one. And Sonya was like, okay, sure, whatever. And that was that. And so Sami Zayn had pretty much punked himself into this match with Roman Reigns. Later in the show, Sony Deville was talking to Scrap Daddy himself. Scrap Daddy said he ain't coming to the show because Brock is there. He don't want to cause no trouble. Sony Deville said, look, it's not going to be a big deal. You should just come to the show. Adam Pearce was like, Brock is there. I ain't coming. And I love that, though. I like the continuity of Adam Pearce saying he doesn't want any drama, so he ain't coming. Which I would have thought he was going to come anyway and start some shit. But I'm thinking they're probably going to save that for day one. This, of course, led Drew McIntyre to come in and say, why wasn't he in the Battle Royal? Sony Deville immediately throws Adam Pearce under the bus. It says that Adam Pearce made the decision not to put him in the Battle Royal. So, why not? I mean, he's not going to show up, right? So, blame him. So that was pretty much most of the build-up for this match. Then we had Roman Reigns. His build-up for the match was after the Usos got disqualified in their match against Xavier Woods, which brought back Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston was supposed to be on paternity leave. He literally the baby was just born like a week or so ago. He's back already. Wild how that is. Xavier Woods also called Sami Zayn Samuel Zayn, which is just continues their weird streak of giving guys first names. It's just an odd decision. Of course, this whole thing got thrown out and turned into a brawl. You should have known better. When they didn't promote a Jey Uso versus Xavier Woods match and they just threw it on the show, there was probably going to be some horse shit, and which exactly it was. I think the match probably went a minute or so before they tossed it in disqualification, which I'm not upset about because we've seen these guys wrestle 100 times, so I'm not really that perturbed that they had the bell ring and these guys didn't really have a match. Post-match, though, kind of pissed me off because it was announced that Kofi and Woods would once again be wrestling the Usos for the tag team titles. And I'm thinking their rivalry has gone on long enough. Not just to the point where we don't really need to have another match between these two teams, but also we should not continue to have just plain one-on-one matches. Like, they should really freak this thing out and do something special with it. Also, Kofi Kingston is now the only member of New Day who uses the New Day theme. He's the only one. He was the one who had his own theme song. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, man. And Kofi and Woods are still too happy. They're not serious enough. I know that they're happy to be reunited, and that's fine. But with the whole Kofi almost got his career taken away, and they broke the crown and everything, the New Day should be different. You know, they're still too happy-go-lucky for my taste, which is typical of WWE baby faces. They just tend to take everything in stride, and nothing really rattles them or gets them upset. It's a major character flaw, you know, for characters to not ever feel anger or to be pissed off. It's just fake. It's phony. That's not real. It's just as phony to be upset about everything as it is to not be upset about anything. Like, that's, nobody is like that ever. But the idea that the Usos and the New Day will wrestle, I'm not that mad about it. But I mean, come on. At this point, they have got to have reached to the point where they can have 2 out of 3 falls matches, or steel cage matches, or ladder matches, or, you know, double hair matches, or something. You know, something where it's not just another New Day versus Usos match that's going to blend in with all the 500 other Usos versus New Day matches. I mean, come the fuck on. Afterwards, Roman was watching this all unfold on television. The Brock stuff, the Uso stuff, he didn't like none of it. To which he asked Paul Heyman, what did he know about Brock, the developments of Brock Lesnar, and Heyman says that all of this is a big surprise to him. He didn't know anything about any of this stuff. He didn't know Brock. He didn't know Brock was going to be there, even though everybody was told a week in advance that Brock was going to be there. And then he says that he didn't know that, you know, Sami Zayn was going to challenge him tonight and all that stuff. So, of course, Roman did what Roman does, which is say, I'm going to smash him. Then I'm going to smash Brock. Okay, so 12 minutes into this video, we finally get to Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns. And you think this took forever to get to the point? They started the Sami Zayn theme song at 9:30. That's what time Sami Zayn's theme song started for this match. They went to commercial. They came back from commercial. They had 3-minute review for Raw. Then they did, I think, the Naomi segment with Sony Deville, which I'll talk about later. Then they went to commercial again. And then they came back. Sami Zayn then cut a promo where he talked about how he doesn't like Texas, then promised to shock the world, and that when Brock came out there to be in his corner, him and Brock finishes up their business by saying that Brock really should help him win. And of course, everybody was surprised because he says, I would be a much easier opponent than Roman. And then he says, like, I'm not selling myself short. I'm just saying, you know, your track record against Roman Reigns has not been that good lately. And which was, it was funny that he says you should help me win because I'm an easier opponent. But then he went and made it a backhanded compliment by saying the likelihood of you beating Roman these days, not so much. So the beating that he got, which was like 5 or 6 suplexes and an F5, and then he was weekend at Bernie's in that corner. He actually earned it. He earned that one. Okay, I like it. I like it. All right, so Roman comes out all oily. Of course, he took his sweet time. Zayn is in a heap on the mat because Brock already getting his title shot, so he doesn't care about the rest of this shit. So he's gone. Roman comes out there, spear, guillotine. Sami Zayn taps out, and Roman got oiled up for nothing. He got all oily and shiny for no reason, just to break everybody's heart because he didn't break a sweat. He ain't do nothing. He even brought the Usos with him. He came in full regalia, you know, as if this match was about to be something. And nothing happened, you know. There were some criticisms, of course, of them not having a full-length match. But these two are heels. Why would you have heel versus heel in the main event of a television show? Why would you do that? My criticism is of the amount of time they wasted getting to this point. The commercials, the Raw Rewind, all of that stuff. That stuff took about 12 minutes to do. It was entirely too long. And I remember I kept asking, like, isn't Sami Zayn still in the ring? Like, they're talking, and Sami Zayn is still in the ring. I'm like, is he just pacing around in the ring? Like, I haven't been to a SmackDown show, and I don't think I've ever been to SmackDown. But I haven't been to a show in where these guys just hang around in the ring. So I'm really sitting here asking myself, like, what is he doing? Like, I know during commercial they may get on the house mic and they talk to the crowd. I know they do different stuff like that, but he's just in the ring because he's been introduced. His music has played, and now he's just hanging around. He's just in there smoking a doobie. Like, what's going on? And now they got to do all this other shit. It's like 10 minutes of other stuff. And you just got a guy just standing in the fucking ring. He's like a fucking mark. What is going on here? I hate when they do that. If you're not ready to go to the match, don't go to the fucking match. Don't let the guy get introduced. Now he's just got to hang around. Like, why you leave the fucking guy out there like that? Don't play his music and let him walk to the ring if he's not going to fucking wrestle when the guy... and you're going to go to commercial. Like, go to commercial, okay, that's one thing. But you're going to play other types of clips, and you're going to play a Ricochet vignette and all this other kind of shit during this whole ordeal. That's the part that pissed me off. Not the fact that Sami Zayn got crushed. I knew that was going to happen. When they announced Sami Zayn was going to wrestle for the title, and it wasn't some big hadoo to talk about, and they was just basically going to snatch his title shot from him, I knew this was going to happen. I'm not surprised at all about it. The issue I have is the amount of time they fucking wasted. The inefficient use of time. Because it's my fucking time. That's why I get so pissed about it. And WWE really knows how to waste other people's time. And that's one thing that I will say is very frustrating. WWE really wastes your fucking time. The bait and switches, the instant disqualifications, all that stuff can make sense in context, but when you have multiple on the same show, multiple distraction roll-ups, and all that other dumb shit, it gets frustrating. It's very hard to watch. Now, they did do a little bit too much here for my taste. And this is why I say this is one of my favorite episodes of SmackDown. Because despite the fact that I liked the story that they told, we took too much time to get there. Way too much time. And to me, I'm like, you could have done this in a far more efficient way. And I get that you want to drag it out because you want people to continue watching. But fuck that. Let people who are going to tune out, tune out. I know you want to get paid because of your viewers and all that shit, but I think it's better and more fan friendly to respect people's time. And you could have done a lot of that stuff that they did. For starters, we don't even need a Raw Rewind. Why do we even need that? We don't need that. But that pissed me off. So 20 minutes into this video, I liked it. Do I think Brock should get an instant rematch against Roman? No. Am I upset about it? No. Because I know stars get treated like stars. And what are you going to do? You going to make Brock wrestle on TV and earn a title shot? No. I mean, it's not going to happen. They did something that I think was probably for the best. They put a contender in between the two. A couple of contenders in between the two. They jobbed out Jeff Hardy in the Battle Royal, but they did a good job with that by not making Jeff be the guy that Brock has to pressure into doing this match. So it being a heel kept Brock babyface, but it's also a heel that everybody can get behind, as far as get behind him getting beat up, and because he's annoying. So that worked, and so now it made sense that Jeff didn't win the Battle Royal because it has to be a heel that wins the Battle Royal. Otherwise, you just have Roman sitting around for 6 weeks trying to tell a story to why Brock should get a title shot. And you still should do something to explain why Brock should get a title shot. And just because I think stars should get treated like stars doesn't mean I think that he should just lose and then just show back up and get another title match. I don't know about that one. I'm also not in favor of like if he just showed up at the end of the Battle Royal and won. That would have been suck ass too. But whatever. I enjoyed Sami Zayn. I enjoyed his interactions with Brock Lesnar. This was really good stuff for both guys. So let's continue to the show. I was gonna break it up, but let's continue to the show. Sasha Banks defeated Shayna Basler. It was a nice vignette for Shayna Basler pre-match. Showed her hurting other people. Pat McAfee called it the future endeavors kick into the stairs. McAfee had some really good lines tonight. He was on fire, man. That dude was really good. The counter pin, the Hurricane Rana, was great out of the gut wrench. Shayna Baszler really showed something here. Sasha Banks, of course, still showing that she's very good. I like the exchange that they did between the Karafuda clutch and the blank statement, where obviously they did the old Roddy Piper, Bret Hart thing, where the legs over the head, and then 1, 2, Shayna actually put her arm up, and then she just kind of countered that into the bank statement. I liked the little match that they did. I didn't have a problem with that. Of course, them showing a vignette from Shayna Baszler and then her immediately losing didn't do us any favors, but whatever. Happy Talk was awful once again. They was making jokes about Drew McIntyre. I'm trying to shorten this thing up. But Pat McAfee says that there was graffiti on... I'm sorry. He said there was graffiti on Happy Corbin's shins. Okay, he is so good. He is tremendous. Despite the fact Pat McAfee had some really good cuts on Corbin and how he was dressed and everything, he did look ridiculous. This, of course, turned into a Drew McIntyre and Jeff Hardy beats up Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss segment. This was stupid. And it's going to lead to Jeff wrestling Corbin next week, which I'm not happy about, which is also stupid. All this is just stupid. Happy Corbin has been one of the biggest, most awful changes of character. Man, this whole thing is a failure. Like, I don't know, man. They need to do something, because this is unbearable. See, Corbin was fun at one point. With the whole broke-ass Corbin, that was fun. But now when he's Happy Corbin, he is actually worse than when he was a waiter. This is awful, man. This is just bad shit. And Madcap Moss is bad on purpose, so I can't really rate him. I'm just saying that Happy Corbin as a concept is fucking stupid. And the character has stopped growing already, so... I mean, it's awful. And Jeff Hardy, beating him is not going to do Jeff Hardy any good. Xia Li will actually be on TV next week. Before we get into that, though, they had a third vignette for her where she talked about walking out late at night and being attacked because they mistake women for weak. And I was like, okay. So that's the angle we're going with here. But finally, we get a release date for Xia Li. She will be there next week. I don't know where they will be next week. Well, hopefully she gets a good reaction. And hopefully she gets a good opponent. And hopefully she fucking wins. Because I really like Xia Li. And think she's got something. Just hopefully things don't blow up in her face. And she ends up on that roster cut. Second match. Viking Raiders lose to Los Lotharios. Los Lotharios had to stay in position forever while they were waiting for Nakamura and Boogs to start playing the guitars outside the ring, which means that Humberto Carrillo had to hold a chin lock on one of the members of the Viking Raiders for what it felt like 2 whole minutes. This was an AEW botches level situation here. This was awful. And then they played the guitar. They distracted Los Lotharios. Also distracted the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders lost. Los Lotharios still won with a roll-up. They ran away. The Viking Raiders then go outside the ring to stare at Nakamura and Boogs. And you think they're about to turn heel because they're kind of blaming them for the loss. And then they start to beat their chests together, which is the Viking Raiders thing, as Boogs plays the guitar, and Pat McAfee is there with them, which, is great. I'm glad Pat McAfee is so excited about hanging out with Boogs and Nakamura, but this made no fucking sense. The Viking Raiders just fucking lost, and they're okay with losing. Boogs and Nakamura just distracted them and caused them to lose, and it's just okay. Everybody's just gonna move the fuck on like it didn't happen. Why would you do this? Why are you booking these guys to look like fucking morons? They look like idiots. They just lost in a match that they were clearly winning. You know, the Nakamura and Boogs interfered in the match and failed. They should at least be, oh man, we're so sorry, guys. Like, this is kind of screwed up. Like, I mean, and then at least let the Viking Raiders shove them around a little bit. Everybody's kind of like, oh yeah, we lost, but we lose all the time, so let's just beat our chest and chant raid. Come on, fuck out of here. And why is Nakamura involved with this? He's the Intercontinental Champion. What is he supposed to? He's supposed to be defending that thing. I had a rant on this already, so I'm not going to go through it again. But fuck's sake, why does he care about Los Lotharios so much? This is stupid. All right, so let's talk about Toni Storm. Toni Storm, she cut a promo, and it was actually performed very well. Her content was left a little bit to be desired. So she says that Charlotte tried to embarrass her, but she's not afraid or intimidated or impressed by Charlotte. And that she predicted that Charlotte would be embarrassed and that she would try to take it out on someone. And she purposefully kind of put herself in that position to be the one. But so she might be 2-pie Toni right now and got hit in the face with those 2 pies last week. But she will become the SmackDown Women's Champion. And I don't think telling people that you're 2-pie Toni is probably the smartest thing in the world. But of course, she's just saying what people wrote. So what difference does it make? But you want to talk about pies? Look, I don't know about pie. I know a little thing too about cake though. And she got that pound cake. You feel me? You feel what I'm saying? In any event, our cheerlead Paul Goddess was not due for the evening though. So Charlotte comes out there and she stands in the middle of the ring and tells everyone that the only way to get noticed in this business is to challenge her, and that number 1 doesn't discuss number 2 or any others, and that, and saying that she's number 2 is giving Toni too much credit. The only reason anyone is even talking about Toni is because she got hit in the face with those pies, and we all laughed. And it says, if I could embarrass her with a pie, imagine what I could do in the ring. So therefore, on her challenge, the answer is no. So Charlotte, of course, puts the belt up, walks around. She's a giant flamingo, and she gets Toni Storm is doing the Marty Jannetty with her legs, which is the little Marty Jannetty dance. I'll never forget when Marty showed up and was hiding behind Shawn, and he was doing that shit with his legs. It was just so giddy, waiting on it. It's like, I like that, for some reason it adds character to whatever you're doing. So then she has a whipped cream pie. Of course, she smashes it in Charlotte's face. And Charlotte, of course, flips out that Toni Storm pied her in the face. All right, so a lot of people are upset about the whole people getting fit in the face with pies because they think, oh, well, you know how the wrestling dirt sheets are. They'll find something and they'll just say, they're building a feud around pies. Like, yeah, they just decided they're going to hit each other in the face with pies, and that's going to be the entire feud. I mean, you would have to eliminate all the promos and, all the other context that is in order to just come to that conclusion. The pie is a plot device to which is a point of embarrassment. The entire issue, though, is that Toni Storm is trying to get Charlotte's attention, and Charlotte is trying not to give her any attention. So Toni Storm is specifically being kind of annoying in getting in Charlotte's face. Charlotte is trying to get away from her. It's like she tried to throw a punch on Toni Storm last week, and Toni grabbed her and threw her outside the ring, which led to her getting hit in the face with those pies. Like, if she'd have just left Charlotte alone after Charlotte told her no the first time, then this feud would not be happening. But this feud is happening because Toni Storm insists on challenging Charlotte and wanted to beat up Charlotte and win that fucking belt. The fact that she got hit in the face with pies was Charlotte's way of telling her to fuck off. If you wanted a well-informed audience, that's kind of the information that you would tell them. Now, we can say that maybe they shouldn't be hitting each other in the face with pies, but we're already there. At this point, it is what it is. It's not about what we want it to be. It's kind of what it is, what it is. I didn't want Hangman Page to be a drunk loser for 8 months, but it ended up happening, didn't it? I didn't want Adam Cole to be dressed like a fucking Ghostbuster, but it ended up happening. The thing is, wrestling is fucking silly now, and now their thing is, instead of them cat fighting and pulling at each other's hair, which is, probably the most appropriate way to do this thing, because people then would say, oh, they're just cat fighting. It's the Divas era all over again, man. And so instead of doing that, they just hitting each other in the face with pies. But at least the pies made sense, because last week was Thanksgiving episode of SmackDown, and therefore Charlotte hitting her in the face with a pie, it makes perfect sense for a pie to even be there. This week, Tony was like, okay, y'all made fun of me for getting hit in the face with a pie. Now I'm going to do the same thing to Charlotte. So now we can all make fun of Charlotte, and now I've got Charlotte's attention. So that's the big picture here. And I guess if you want to focus on the minutia of people getting hit in the face with pies, but that's just random action. Like I said, not all motion is important. I'll say that all the time on this channel, and I probably don't say it enough or even explain it enough. But not all motion is important. Sometimes, like when guys are just running in the ring, like I talked about Leo Rush and Dante Martin, those guys just running around. They're not doing anything. They're just running. It's pointless motion. That's the same thing with these pies. Sometimes, these brawls, fight scenes like on Impact, they're all just pointless motion. They don't look good. It's dry. It's stupid. That's kind of how the pies are. They're just silly nonsense. We have to have some type of visual of combat between these two without them actually fighting and having a match. So we're just going to have them hit each other in the face with pies. Better than them hitting each other with chairs or bats or something like that, because then you have to actually elevate this feud beyond, I'm ignoring you. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Of course, the big question is, after all that nonsense, is does Tony walk out of this whole ordeal as the women's champion? Now, before we really get into this, we have to, discuss what people think of Toni Storm. And one of the things that I saw is that Tony got hit in the face with pies last week because they thought she was fat. That's something that has been floating around on the internet for quite a while now. They think Toni Storm is fat. Therefore, they're going to pick on her because they think she's fat. But, the broads who are literally fat, like Tamina, we're not going to hit her in the face with the pie. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. When Nia Jax was literally fat, they didn't do that to her. But we're going to find somebody who's not fat, say that people think she's fat because she has thick thighs, and we're going to tell people that through the internet, and we're going to let that be that. We're just going to leave that alone. I mean, Doudrop is literally fat. They don't do any fat jokes. They didn't do anything about her being fat. But Toni Storm, and you were supposed to just believe it. This kind of stuff ends up floating around literally all the time. I remember the whole Piggy James thing. I still have people telling me, oh, the Piggy James thing is real, man. They thought she was fat, man. I'm just sitting here like, who exactly said that she was fat? It was just some shit that floated around on the internet. It's been 10 years. Can somebody tell me anybody that was on the creative team that has either come out and said, yeah, we thought she was gaining too much weight, or whatever the case may be? No? Okay. So it's another one of these gossip, mind-reading things that comes out of the internet from time to time, like, oh, people are saying NXT isn't fun to work at anymore. Workplace morale is down. All these things. Like, you can't go around chasing those little acorns every time somebody says some dumb shit. That's why I don't do videos on these little acorns that they drop about people being fat, or, this is what people think about in the locker room. It's like, it's too much of that gossipy horse shit. People, you might talk to one guy who throws out some nonsense, and then it becomes this is what everybody thinks. It's like, no, it might be what one person thinks, and who knows who the fuck they're talking to. It could be the guy who delivers the donuts, the guy who gives Vince his water, the guy who keeps the coffee warm. We don't know who the fuck they're talking to, or if they even are having conversations. We don't know. It's the same thing when they're doing all this. This is what the networks think. It's like, what? There's real network organizations that follow these things. They don't even talk about these shows like that. You think these guys are sitting around talking to fucking wrestling YouTubers? You think USA, with all the money, they got $200 million tied up into Raw. You think they're talking to fucking wrestling YouTubers about it? And Variety doesn't know? Are you fucking serious? So it's that kind of stuff that I really don't like to get involved with. But let's get into talk back into Toni Storm. I think Toni Storm is in a good place right now. She shouldn't be getting hit in the face with pies and looking like a dork, which I don't like. But she hit Charlotte in the face with a pie, made her look like a dork this week. So that's going to be impetus, I'm sure, for Charlotte to say, all right, you have my attention, and we're going to have this match. Of course, conventional WWE booking is going to tell us that Toni is going to wrestle the match and just plain on lose, because that's what Charlotte does. She beats everybody. And plus, Charlotte still has not had a comeback win since she lost to Becky Lynch. So I'm guessing, which was also the reason why she got over on Toni the previous week, is because, Charlotte did just take a loss. So they have to try to rebuild her in some way. Okay. We had Charlotte hit Toni and Storm in the face with pies to get some heat because she lost a little bit of heat and losing to Becky Lynch. And now she got her heat back. We kind of evened her out again. Now we have to make Toni whole. Making Toni whole means that you have to embarrass Charlotte a little bit. So now Charlotte's going to get hit in the face with a pie. All right, now we're even Steven. We're back to where we started. We can get rid of the fucking pies. So now at this point, Charlotte is going to have the match with Toni because Toni went too far. Conventional wisdom is going to say Charlotte's going to win. Now, smart booking would be put Charlotte in the ring with somebody so she can collect some wins. Somebody that you're not pushing and who don't matter that much. Maybe somebody like Aaliyah. Aaliyah can go in there and show what she can do, but, she's still just a body in the ring. She can do some jobs. Have Charlotte beat her maybe once or twice. So just to show off that she hasn't lost a step, and that she's not, she's still got it in the ring, and give Aaliyah a little bit of shine. And then you have Toni fucking beat her for the belt. That's what I would do. I probably would have put the X-Nay on the pies, but the storyline other than the pies is perfectly fine. And it makes sense because it seems like Toni Storm is being impatient and she's jumping to the front of the line. So, okay, cool. I'm all right with that part. A lot of people would be upset if Toni lost. I would not be surprised. I think putting the emphasis on Toni is a good thing. I think the amount of time they've given her to cut promos has been good. She's had more promo time than Shotzi. Shotzi's disappeared off the fucking face of the earth after she got looked like a fucking goof at wrestling Sasha Banks when she shook her hand and got beat up. It was all downhill from there. And you see the pattern here. You do work with the horsewomen, and all of a sudden you start looking like a bit of a goofball. It is what it is. But Toni's getting considerably more TV time. She's getting almost a Liv Morgan amounts of TV time at this point. I think she has a better chance of winning than Liv Morgan does. I think Liv Morgan has zero shot at winning. Toni Storm winning would actually be great for her. It would be like a rocket push. But ultimately, I'm trying to think in the future, and I think in the future they want Sasha and Charlotte. That's what I think, and so I'm going to say Toni's probably going to put up a good fight and lose, and she's going to end up having to go to the back of the queue, but at least she's going to have a history of, people knowing that she has good promos and, being in a feud with Charlotte, even if it's a short filler feud. It's a good thing for Liv Morgan too. Personally, what I would do in order to keep them from falling too far off is I would probably move them into the tag team ranks. I know it's weird that you would do something like that, but the women's tag team titles can travel, and they've been on Raw for a long time now. I think it's time to move them over to SmackDown a little bit, especially if we're going to have Sasha and Charlotte as their top feud. We probably need to focus on some of the younger women, and I think having Zelina and Carmella against, Toni and someone else, or Aaliyah and someone else, not Toni and Aaliyah, but I don't think their characters are similar enough. But whatever the case may be, could make it interesting. Just not Natalya and Shayna Basler. Just not them, ever. Never them. Never Natalya. And that would make those things interesting, but they would have to actually care about the women's tag team titles, which they don't. And they would have to actually care about people other than the four horsewomen, which clearly they don't. You can tell that they don't care about anybody other than four horsewomen by, they care about Sonya. I should say that. They did a good job with Sonya. So let's talk about Sonya. Sonya Deville gets confronted by Naomi. So Naomi gets in Sonya Deville's face and challenges her to a match again. Sonya Deville says, as long as I'm wearing this suit, I am not going to fight you. But I will accept your challenge for the match. Just, you cannot put your hands on me while I'm wearing this suit. Because while I'm wearing this suit, I'm the boss. And if you put your hands on me, I'm going to make sure you don't even have a paycheck. Not only were you not going to get your match, you're not going to get a paycheck. I'm like, ooh. And Pat McAfee is screaming about middle management. Middle management this, middle management that. Which I like, because these people are super annoying, these middle managers. These pencil pushers, they are annoying as shit. So Naomi then gets bitch slapped by Sonya Deville, and she, of course, fires up as she's supposed to. That's the baby face I want to see. I don't want to see her cowering, and I want to see her get really close to, like, I should just, oof. And then Sonya Deville backs up a little bit, and she didn't completely fold, but she backed up a little bit, like, I kind of give you some space, and be like, I'm still wearing my suit, though. Now, of course, in the old days, we would do like a bra and panties type situation where we would strip Sonya out of that goddamn suit, and she'd have to fight barefoot and in a thong, and Naomi would beat the shit out of her, and people would go crazy. They throw babies in the air. But of course, this is the PG era, and if you do something like that, especially with a character like Sonya Deville, people would bitch and complain and moan. That's why you can't have anything fun. So they announced the match for next week, Naomi versus Sonya Deville. And I don't think this match is going to happen. I think Sonya Deville is going to show up in her suit. She's not going to take the suit off. She's going to take off a jacket, and that's probably about it. Likely have somebody attack from behind, and maybe that'll be the introduction to Xia Li. And I think that will probably be so much better. My original idea, if I just had to pitch something, was for Xia Li to be a henchman for Sonya Deville. When I saw that the Shayna Basler thing wasn't going to work, then they turned Xia Li babyface. So since the idea is that Xia Li hates vultures, well, who's the ultimate vulture? Sonya Deville. She's constantly picking on Naomi, and now she's put Naomi in this position where Naomi can't touch her, because even though she's accepted the challenge for her match, she can't touch her. So she's going to do something where she's going to say, I'm still wearing my suit. I'm not putting on my wrestling gear, and I'm not going to fight you yet. But she's going to come out there and tease Naomi. And then maybe you have Xia Li take up the fight, saying that Naomi can't fight you, but I don't deal with bullies. And then she kind of, spin kicks Sonya Deville into the next millennium or something like that. That would be fucking cool, and it'd be a great introduction to Xia Li and into the character that she's portraying, and have her have Naomi's back. I think that would be dope, at least for a little while. And then, of course, Sonya Deville has to fight Naomi at some point. But I do believe next week is going to be a bait and switch. Don't buy it. Don't buy into it. I don't believe they're going to have a match at all. I don't believe it at all. So Sonya Deville continues to be a very effective heel on this roster. Basically because they gave her all this authority and all this power, and then they put her behind, she's like an asshole that works at a liquor store, and she's behind a bulletproof glass. Like, you can't really get to her. So she gaining more and more heat, which is a good thing. But that's typically how you should build heels in the first place. They should be able to get a lot of heat. But you can't put an invisible wall in front of them all the time. So it really works with authority figures, because they have a natural invisible wall if you just can't beat them up. Unless you're Brock Lesnar, then you can do whatever you want. All right, so the last thing I guess I have to talk about, and I've really been talking for longer than whatever the counter says. Cesaro and Sheamus. They just throw Cesaro and Sheamus out there to have a wrestling match. They base it, of course, on the bar. The bar is now broken up. The bar has been broken up for like 3 years now. But, of course, these guys go out there and have the match of the night. Of course, they go out there and rule ass. I mean, these two guys both are dope. Sheamus tells Cesaro that he was holding him down. Cesaro tells Sheamus, you were like a brother. Sheamus just wins with the bro kick. And that was it. That was the match. There was no follow up. There was no drama. There was nothing. There was just, that's the end of the bar. There's no relationship between the two of them. I would have preferred if they would have had a promo segment where they could have said those things to each other, where Sheamus should have said, with the whole thing with the bar, when he was holding me back, and Cesaro could have said, like, what are you talking about, man? You was like a brother to me. We were best friends. What's going on? Why are you acting like this all of a sudden because of this new guy? And it could have been a nice little bromance and soap opera thing that they could have played out and let it breathe a little bit. We could have done that rather than these stupid fucking happy talk segments, which wasted everybody's life. It wasted heartbeats. For fuck's sake, get rid of that shit. So in any event, I liked the match. Didn't like that Cesaro just lost clean though, because there's no impetus for a rematch at that point. So I mean, it is what it is. We're moving forward with Sheamus, Ridge Holland probably as a tag team, which is fine with me. Sheamus has a stick now. Is that a shillelagh, or is it just like a walking stick that he's got? I don't know, but Sheamus with a stick is probably a very dangerous thing. All right, so I talked about a lot of stuff on this show. SmackDown, not my favorite episode of SmackDown, not at all. Didn't really like that Brock Lesnar belittled Sami Zayn by saying he didn't know who he was. Didn't really care for all the time they wasted between when Sami Zayn's music started to when the match actually, or then the promo segment actually started. Not a fan of the Viking Raiders and Los Lotharios and everything they're doing with Shinsuke Nakamura. Not a fan of any of that shit. That's all a waste of time. Not a fan of Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, or what they're doing with Jeff Hardy. All that's a waste of time. Did enjoy the Ricochet vignette. Loved that. Thought that was dope. Ricochet has a lot of potential. He has almost no charisma though. I was really saying to myself, like, what older wrestler could I really compare Ricochet to? And I would say the closest would be, a cruiserweight from WCW. It would have to be like Rey Mysterio. But he doesn't have the marketability. Like Rey had the masks and it was all colorful and the mystery of who is he and what does he look like. Even though if you're a little bit older, you already knew what Rey looked like. But if you're a kid, and you don't Google what Rey Mysterio looks like, then Rey can look like anything. He's literally like WWE Spider-Man. So that's really what, helped Ricochet when he was in Lucha Underground too, is the fact that he wore a mask. So they see the potential there in Ricochet, and they're actually trying to make it feel like a big deal now. But it's 4 years into his run, and they finally decided they're going to actually start treating Ricochet like somebody. Hopefully they can maintain this. But after I just saw them do a video package on Shayna Basler just for her to lose clean, I don't know, man. You can't trust WWE's booking. You really can't. And it's that pendulum swinging of, I hate this, I love this, I hate this, I love this, to keep people engaged. That's the fucked up thing about it. It's not always going to be roses and bubbles. And it can never be roses and bubbles because that's just phony. That's fake. Anybody who just loves everything is phony. Anybody who laughs at all of your jokes is not real. That's the Madcap Moss effect. Sometimes you throw a joke out there and it's not funny, it's stupid, or whatever the case may be. Not even in professionals aren't funny 100% of the time. So, you can not laugh at a joke and still love the person and still think that they're great. They can have bad takes and you can still be a fan. So it is what it is when it comes to WWE. They missed on this SmackDown for me. There was only one good match and they put no build on it. It was very dry. They wasted the Sami Zayn Roman Reigns match, which, I'm not too upset about, but also not thrilled that they did that either. Not saying that Sami Zayn deserved anything more. He's a heel and go in there and get killed. It is what it is. Not thrilled at all about Roman and Brock again. Also not thrilled about the never-ending feud of the Usos and the New Day. So there's some things that there's to look forward to, but there's also things that I'm not looking forward to. But SmackDown still ended up being the best wrestling show of the week. It's just that the bar was very low this week. I'm liking that they building up things for day one so far in advance, which is good. The only problem I have with that is, like I said before, there's a tendency to, inject a lot of filler into the show once you do the quote unquote long term booking. You tell us about a match in January, and then you're just going to start dropping filler all over us until that point happens. So hopefully SmackDown doesn't fall into that. But let me know what you guys think, because I've talked long enough. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.